Hi, my name is Annamieka Hops, and this is the Art Friends Show, where every conversation focuses on getting to know the essence of creativity itself. I'd love to invite you as well to join me inside of Art Friends School, where we go deeper into these topics and join in with other art friends around the world. Thanks so much for joining us, and let's get to the show. Welcome to the Art Friends Show. Here's an artist you're gonna love to know. Today's guest is Kary Hess, and she'll be joining us live here for an interview about her work as an interdisciplinary artist. My name is Annamieka Hops. I live in Portland, Oregon, and I work as a professional mentor for artists, and I'm also doing this 100 days in a row to workshop the concept for the Art Friend Show. I'd love to create this as a podcast and YouTube channel, and so I'm figuring out a little bit more every day about how to do it. I can see Kary here on the call, so I'm going to invite her in. If you're someone who has been watching these and enjoying it and you'd like to come on as a guest, there's a link in my profile. You can sign yourself up and come on the Art Friend Show. Okay, Miss Kary, let's see here. I'm going to add you. Ta-da!
Oh, let me fix my picture here.
Perfect.
There we go. Hi.
Perfect. I'll do that as well. It's nice to have a little room above our head.
Yeah.
A teacher of mine said 3 fingers above your head and the top of the frame, minimum. So maybe raise yours up a little bit more. Yes. Not that I always follow that rule, because rules are made to be broken, but there you go.
Sounds good.
So, hi, Kary. Welcome to the Art Friends Show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Yes. Can you tell everyone your full name, where you live, and what you like to create?
Yes. My name is Kary Hess, and I live in Sonoma County, which is about 40 minutes north of San Francisco. And I'm an interdisciplinary artist, which means that I do a number of disciplines, including filmmaking, visual art, and writing.
Amazing. Yes. That's so fun. So interdisciplinary art for you is filmmaking, writing, art, and in terms of, sorry, I'm stumbling on my words here.
You're great.
But yeah, we met when you were in an MFA program, as well as you took my mentoring program, and we worked on your creative practice as well as a novel.
Yes.
So I definitely want to get to all of that. But first, I know you have a really interesting story about how you got started. Would you mind sharing a bit about that?
Yes, that'd be great. So when you're a little kid, a lot of people will ask you like what you want to be when you grow up, right? And so I know that my little kid would say something different every week. And it was like one week he was like a firefighter, next week he wanted to be an astronaut, then he wanted to be like a Ghostbuster, or whatever. Yeah. And like as you get older, I noticed that like the answers kind of narrow down a little bit, and they're not like quite so out of the box. And I like to kind of bring it back to our humanity a little bit. Like we want to do a lot of things, and we shouldn't really narrow it down, right? So like interdisciplinary art is like a way to kind of have your message, which is like the bottom of the tree. I look at like the art tree. Like I talk about sense of place all the time, and I will express it through different branches of my artwork. So like I'll write about sense of place, and I'll do visual art about sense of place, and I'll do films about sense of place. And but I didn't really understand that when I was younger, right? So like when I was fresh out of college, I was working at a clothing store, and because I majored in art, and like I was working at this clothing store, and I couldn't really do a lot of art or writing because I was working full time. And so, but I was doing a lot of reading because my husband at the time worked at a bookstore, and you were allowed to take books out of the bookstore and read them and then put them back when you were done. So we had like every book possible to read. Wow. And I read tons of books, and I thought everybody should read them. So I started this book review publication, and I wrote in my old notebook like different reviews of all the books. And but it was the 90s and I didn't have a computer and I didn't know how to use a computer. And it was just kind of starting to be a thing where you could like make your own publications on a computer, but not everybody had them. So I called a friend, and he knew how to use a computer, but he didn't have one either. And so then we went to another friend who had a computer, and the three of us made this thing happen. And so I put my publication around town with all my book reviews in it, and people started reading it. And I was really excited. And I made a few more over the next year. And then from that, I got 2 jobs.
Wow.
So like one job, I know, it was kind of like I wasn't expecting that, but just by following that intuitive path, created this situation. So like, I went to a wine label printing place to get a job there. And they're like, they saw my newsletter and they're like, what's this? And I was like, oh, well, I didn't do the layout or anything. And they're like, we want you to work in our art department.
Amazing.
And so I was like, okay, I don't know how to use a computer. And they're like, we'll show you. So I got this job as a graphic artist from that. And then I also ended up getting a job at the local newspaper doing arts and culture reporting because of the writing.
Amazing.
So I was now an artist and a writer. And I started seeing that like I needed both of those outlets to express the things that I wanted to say. And they were still for other people. Like I was interviewing people for the paper, and I was doing design work for other people. But it was like helping people in our community get their stories out. So that was really fulfilling. And then from there, I led to a bunch of other things. Like I started my own graphic design company after that. And I started a clothing company after that. And I started a tarot business after that. Yes. So it's led to many branches, but I've noticed over the years that it really does all come down to that root of sense of place. And so I'm communicating about my connection with my place and other people's connection with place and how we're made of place through all these different avenues. And it kind of just comes, for me, it kind of comes down to like, not what do you want to be when you grow up, but like, what do I want to say is the root, right? And then how are the many ways I can say it? What are the many ways that we can say what we want to say? And then that leaves room for multiple careers and multiple art practices. And just so the interdisciplinary art, I feel like instead of multidisciplinary art, interdisciplinary is more woven together, and like one branch is influencing the other. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you've kind of noticed that when we were mentoring together, because you're the first
mentoring client whose novel I read.
Yeah, I know. So I was doing visual art and writing.
It was brilliant. Oh, brilliant. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
I love how much you've come into ownership of that, and in fact you have this through line in your story of knowing, just really knowing that for a long time. The way you just described it was very succinct and powerful.
Thank you.
And I love, thank you for that. It's not about,
like I said though, I didn't always understand it that way though. Like it definitely has helped to be in this master's program where it's an interdisciplinary art program. Mm-hmm. And that's why I chose it. I was like, that's totally what I'm doing. And I need to like zero in on that idea. Mm-hmm. And so like that kind of helped me just get a little more clear even on it just the last few years.
Yeah. Okay. That's awesome. And you're graduating soon, right? With your MFA?
Yes, in May. Yeah.
Major. Is there more you want to say about interdisciplinary art before I ask you about what you make?
Do you have any questions about it, or does it make sense? Some people ask about it all the time because they don't know what it is.
Sure.
I think I explained it a little bit, but if there's more you want to ask about it, I'm happy to.
Ooh, what could I ask?
Explain.
Well,
yeah.
I think that so for example, when we're at a party with people who aren't in our niche and they're like, what do you do? Sometimes I'll say, I'm a painter and I teach art online. But like, I don't think that really describes you having taken my mentoring program. Does that really describe it? I don't think.
No. People need a quick answer.
Yeah. It's difficult to just nutshell it. So for you, being in a master's interdisciplinary arts, would you say that is there now a niche in art all for the future of humankind that's like, I'm an interdisciplinary artist? Do you feel like people are just going to get that in a soundbite?
I don't know. I'm not sure that they do. One thing I do sometimes is I will usually focus on one thing at a time. Yeah. And so whatever I'm focusing on, I'll kind of say that. Okay. So I'll say, oh, I'm a writer if I'm writing right then. Mm-hmm. And then if I'm doing a lot of painting, I'll be like, I'm a painter. And then I'll get into it more if I'm really talking to the person. But if they just need a quick answer, it's kind of easier just to pick the thing that I'm working on right then. Yeah. But I do like to acknowledge that there's many branches of the tree. Totally. Going kind of at once sometimes. Mm-hmm. I'll show you a few projects in a few minutes that are kind of interdisciplinary art projects even.
Yeah. That's amazing. I suppose one more question I have while we're on that topic is, coming out of a master's program, my perception of the MFA programs are that they also help you identify professional avenues. Is that true or not? Like for you in your discipline. So what are some of the paths that you're now aware of that you might not have been aware of before your MFA?
Oh, that's a great question, because that's really true. They have done that for me a lot. I definitely was not planning on teaching when I started the program, but we had a pedagogy class where we had to learn how to do it. Mm-hmm. And I totally want to do it now. Cool. So they've taught me that I could be a teacher, and probably like a workshop teacher is the avenue I would take. Mm-hmm. And then I'm thinking about doing that this summer, actually, offering a few workshops. And then also just like the idea of doing residencies. Like I have 2 teenage boys, so I can't really go anywhere and do a residency, but there are some shorter ones in our area that maybe I could do. And I just hadn't really thought about the various possibilities. So they opened that avenue up for me too. And things like that, like just different like grants and residencies and things that I hadn't really considered applying for because of my situation, like having a family.
Yeah, totally. We're still kind of coming out of this old Western European art paradigm of men being the artists. And so that sense of like what's available to you at this stage of your family life, but also just even knowing you're eligible for residencies, for grants, and teaching your methods. That's cool. Oh, you teach such great workshops. I have other questions about what you might want to teach, but let's move on to your work and see some examples of your interdisciplinary practice.
Okay. So last year I published a poetry book. And here it is. Mm-hmm. It's called 1912, Poems of Time, Place, and Memory. And it's like, of course, like all there's poems in here that I wrote. And what's interesting about it to me is that I also added a lot of drawings. So like, here's a drawing. And so the book is full of drawings too. So it's very interdisciplinary. And then I designed the cover also. So my graphic design came into that.
Wow, amazing.
Here's the back.
Wow. Wow, this is really fun to see all of your, like a few, I guess, some of your many skills coming together. What's the mood?
So I did
the mood of this book? What's some of the message, or what's it about?
Well, they're poems of time, place, and memory. So it's mainly about like the idea of how our memories are kind of not really real. Like we remember things a certain way, depending on whatever we need to get out of it, I guess. And sometimes like 20 years later, we'll remember things a different way even. And like, I know if you talk to like old friends, they'll remind you of something. You're like, I totally forgot about that. Or wait, I thought it was this. Or, you know, I even had a friend who insisted she was on this road trip with us that she didn't go on. What? Like, because she remembered our stories or something.
That, you know, this morning, my daughter I had to take my dog to the vet. So our friend Kim, who nannies for my daughter, came over, and my daughter was sitting at the table and started telling Kim about the skunk that came to our camping site last August. And that memory is one she tells again and again, but she didn't see the skunk. She was asleep. She was asleep in her tent. And it's just so curious to me that as I watch a 3-year-old form or pick out which memories become her go-to stories, I'm like, something about this skunk, even though she didn't see it, is so vivid to her. She can describe the whole scene. Anyway, do go on. I'm fascinated by that. Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. So the poems are all from that place.
Yeah.
And there's like different sections in the book, and they're all based on places. So like memories of place, and like how we fit into that, and how a place could change us and make us who we are.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the literary branch, I guess, of my interdisciplinary art. And then of course the drawings are in there too.
Amazing. And your novel, now my understanding is the novel that you were working on while we worked together, the one that I know intimately, is not the one you're about to publish, but that one's very deep into place.
Yes, that's very place oriented too. I don't know if anyone out there knows Elena Ferrante. She wrote the books My Brilliant Friend, and it's like a 4-book series. Anyway, she talks a lot about place also. She's lived in the same place her whole life, a lot of her life growing up, like I did. And we just know these places so intimately that we use them in our writing. And so she always writes about that place. And I was definitely resonating with that when I heard her talking about that. Or heard, she's actually anonymous, and she had an actor play her in a talk that she gave. but anyway.
Wait, okay. So many other questions. Let's stick to your work. Yes.
I know.
That's so fascinating.
So just the idea of using place in your work. Like I'll use the same place over and over again, even with different stories that I'm making up. But like the place will kind of be the same. And in my film work too, I do that. So like I've done 2 movies with my partner, and he does the writing and directing, and I do the production design, which is like the look of like what it looks like. So everything you see in the movie is like decided on, it's like on purpose.
Yeah.
And it's like all the sets and costumes and hair and like the locations, it's all like planned. And so I create like a world that's here, but kind of a different version of here. But it's definitely rooted in this place. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, that's amazing. So tell us the name of your movie and where I can go purchase it to watch it.
The movie is called Pillhead, and it is on Amazon Prime.
I do have to ask, what genre is it?
It's like an art house cinema. It's black and white, surreal, cult type, campy cult art film genre.
What are a couple of the things that you're the most proud of, and what's something that you're like, oh God, I wish I could have changed? What are you proud of?
For the movie or for?
For the movie.
I love that we made it black and white. And that was kind of a particular challenge too, because when you're designing, like when you're bringing costumes and sets in and stuff, you have to make sure the colors translate in black and white.
Yeah.
Because they don't look, sometimes the colors look like they're different colors in real life, but then if it goes to black and white, they're the same color.
That's the value contrast, right?
Exactly. Just like what you were talking about.
Yeah.
Mentor program.
Oh yeah. I swear I could just stop teaching if people just understood value contrast, because it comes down to that. That's why I got bangs. It's just like, it's just a color. It's a dark against light. Okay, I'm totally digressing.
That's so
you're so proud of it being black and white. What's something that feels kind of like vulnerable about it, or surprised?
Well, I do wish I was basically a 1-person production design team.
Yeah.
And I could have done so much more with like a team of people. Like I had to do all the makeup, all the costumes, all the sets. I had to make all the props. I mean, it was just a lot of work, and like I couldn't do everything. So like it's pretty good, but it's like I could have done more with a team of people. So I guess that's kind of my main wish for next time.
Fantastic to hear ya on that.
Yeah, I'm sure you understand.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. I was just meeting with someone who's helping me understand how to take this concept of going live every day and start capturing it in a way that I can repurpose it as well for a podcast and YouTube. And I started to really comprehend the number of steps involved and was like, where's the team? Like, just need so much help when you're trying to produce a whole movie or
Yeah. It just takes a little longer.
Yeah.
You could do it. It might take longer.
Totally. Amazing. Okay. So tell me about either the book that you're about to finish or your SparkTarot.
Oh, well, the book, I'll tell you really quick about the book. It's a kind of high concept literary fiction artist story. So it's like a coming of age as an artist story. Just a little, like a kind of a short, not a short story, it's a novel, but like just a simple story about that. It's not a crime fiction or anything like that. So that's still underway. I'm finishing it up in the next few weeks. So hopefully I'll have more to say after it's done.
Yeah. Very
but
nice.
As far as, yeah. But the tarot deck, I can tell you all about now because I have it with me.
Please
it's been
do.
done.
Can we see it?
Yeah. And this is another kind of, I finally was able to make this because I ended up having all the skills to make it because it took a lot of different things to do. Mm-hmm. So one was the package design. Here's the package. And here's the back. Mm-hmm. And it's on the side. And it's like a 2-piece box. So just open it up. Mm-hmm. And then inside is a little book that I wrote. So I had to write a book also. And it's like, it has all the interpretations for the cards.
Amazing.
And like how to read the cards. So you can just like get your box and start doing it. Because, you don't want to have to depend on somebody else to do that. And then I made all the cards. So I did a painting for the back. I don't know if you can see it. Kind of a watercolor.
Mm-hmm.
And then all these paintings. So I did like 78 paintings. And there's like a ton of them,
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll show you a few individuals. So here's, my deck is really feminine focused. And so all the kings are actually animals. I didn't want to put guys in there. Mm-hmm. Potential men in the deck, but magician. Here's, I don't know, Ace of Cups. And just different ones. Here's another one. And I'll show you one more card after this. This is the World card. This is the card where like everything kind of starts coming. It's like a liminal space. So it's the last card. And then here's the Moon card. This is the last card I'll show you. It's like kind of that uncertainty card where you're not sure. You just have to keep swimming. So I had a lot of fun making that deck, and it was definitely like painting, writing, and package design. And then of course I had to make a business around it too. So it was a lot of different things, but it was just took time to do, And then of course I got the cards. I ordered a bunch of cards and they arrived and they looked great. And then the next day was the pandemic. So I was like, what? But I fulfilled all my orders. I had pre-orders, so I fulfilled all those. And then it actually turned out that like a lot of people wanted tarot decks during the pandemic. Mm-hmm. They just really needed that comfort and like some kind of feeling of guidance, So it turned out to be good. And then also we ended up with Zoom. And so I could do tarot readings anywhere.
Amazing.
It was pretty cool. Yeah. So that's one of my favorite projects that I've been doing.
What a perfect example of an interdisciplinary art project. Writing, painting, graphic design, package design as like physical dimensional design, publishing it, marketing it, actually providing a service using it. Just like awesome. So awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we are celebrating you as well. You're graduating with your MFA here in May. What's next on the horizon as you look ahead?
What's on the horizon? Well, I am developing some writing workshops. And one of them that I know of will be writing with a sense of place. So bringing that aspect of place into your existing writing, whatever, however you write now, if you're writing a genre novel or fiction, literary fiction, or poems or whatever, just kind of bringing that new dimension to it. So that's what I hope to be doing this summer.
That's amazing. Well, I'm excited for you to step into those, the creativity of teaching your art. That's definitely a whole thing of how to translate it into then hold it for other people. And so cool.
You've been such an inspiration to me too. Like when we had our mentorship, just the way you like gently guide people and explore with them and not like force things. You kind of force things, but in a good way.
Thank you. Yeah, I teaching is like, I feel like one of those cliches, you know, where the longer I teach, the more I realize that I don't know. You know what I mean? Like people teach, or that the students teach me just as much. All that stuff that you hear people say.
Totally.
When I was younger and felt like I needed to prove, I felt like I needed to have like really polished videos and like a clear lessons plan that was on everyone's desk the first day of the retreat, so they would trust that I knew where we were going. And like over the years, I trust the architecture of my lesson planning. But what I find is like being able to be playful with you and really follow and go back and forth is the best part. Like I made up an exercise on the spot for my client who was really pissed off about something the other day. And it was so fun to just be like, okay, draw this. Now go stomp around your house. Okay, now draw what that thing's saying and then go there. You know, I realized like as a teacher and as a creative human, that's actually the part that keeps me coming back, is the ability to co-create with someone on the spot for what they've identified they need.
Totally. And being able to pivot, like you have enough skills to pivot to another thing if you need to like grab that out of your bag to help them, right? Like, okay, here's an exercise for you.
Yeah. The longer I go, more I'm like, okay, we're, you know, this is our goal for the day, but we're going to follow. And I think having the mentoring program, now I know, like, there's a lot of, you know, as you know, there's a lot of content, but there's these key milestones. You do need to do those, but you can distill them down. So for your writing workshops, for example, I don't know if you want advice, take it or leave it.
I'll take it.
Okay, if you have all these ideas of you know, what, like basically the learning arc you want them to go through, if it's like what you want them to know, what you want them to feel, and what you want them to do as a result or create as a result, those major things, what you want them to know, what you want them to feel, and what you want them to do, you'll have some assignments and maybe some examples to help them do it, but be prepared to have alternatives or to skip a step or simplify something so that you can really read the room, because those people in your workshop, they'll probably get the most out of just being with you and being with each other in the process, as long as you move them through the simplest version of the learning arc.
Totally. Yeah. Well, actually, I've done the workshop with a few people already as like a test. And I did, you're totally right about that. I was kind of surprised. I was like, oh, it seems like you need so much more, and then you actually need less. And they get more out of it if you do a little less, because there's just more interaction and like, just what you were saying. But I can't wait to find out more from doing it and to hear more from you.
I like working with people one-on-one, especially because you can really match them, but also sometimes when you get more to like 16 people, there'll be a few that are like the race car speedy DDs, and so having a few more things for them.
Oh, that's good advice too. Oh my God, because there's always those star students that have to do everything.
I feel like one thing to be over like 10 or 12, you were running 2 classes simultaneously. Okay.
Wow.
I think
it's a lot.
Is there anything else you want to share while we have you here?
Oh, I don't know. This was a great conversation. Thank you so much. It's been great. Yeah. I've loved hearing about your about how you do approach the workshops too, because that's kind of my next step after graduating. So thank you so much.
I'm so happy for you. Yeah. And okay, well then I'll wrap up here and celebrating you. Thank you for joining for an Art Friend.
Thanks.
I'd love to have you inside of Art Friend School, where we go deeper into these topics. Follow the link that's in the show notes or find it on my website at annamieka.com.